In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use the real painting Photoshop action to create a highly realistic painting effect. Now, this is an image created with the action. This is the original image. But let's look a bit closer. Notice the fine details, the painting strokes of the brushes used by the action, the way the characters are drawn. The canvas texture, the lighting, and this is the original image. This action is a one-click action, which means you will only have to press the play button with an image opened, and the action will do its course and produce you with a result. Okay, in order to use the action, there are three assets which we will have to load into Photoshop. I'm gonna keep this open image, and I'm gonna show you how to load the three assets. These are a Photoshop brush file which contains the brushes that the action uses to paint everything, a pattern file which contains patterns used for creating this texture effect and some more, and of course the action itself, which uses these patterns and the brushes. Okay, let's start with the brushes. In order to load the brushes, we will go to the tool panel in Photoshop, click on the brush. There is a selected brush over here. I'm gonna click on this small icon, and this one, it's a little arrow. In my CS5 Photoshop version it may be something different, such as a gear if you're using a newer version of Photoshop. Okay, and I'm gonna click load brushes, and I'm going to select the real painting brushes. Load. Okay, the brushes are now available. Next, we will have to load the patterns. There are multiple ways of doing this, as there are multiple ways of loading the brushes. In order to load the patterns efficiently, I'm gonna click on the paint bucket tool, and I'm gonna have the pattern selected here, not the foreground but the pattern. And there is a little thumbnail here of a pattern, an arrow. I'm gonna click on this little one and click load patterns. Select the real painting patterns, load. Okay, and now we will only have to load the action. I have here the actions panel visible. You can toggle it from the Windows actions if it's not visible for you. It's visible here. I'm gonna click on this little button, click on load actions, and select the real painting action, and I'm going to click on load. And now the action is available, as you can see it here. There is a folder called real painting, contains a single action, real painting action. Okay, now everything is ready. I'm gonna close this document and I'm going to open an image. I'm gonna show you on the same image. I'll drag it into Photoshop. It's a no, it's a different image, sorry, but it's usable too, of course. Okay, it's a JPG file. It's in RGB color mode. You should check that by going to the image mode RGB color to be checked, and on 8 bits. These parts are important. You must have the image in this mode. If it's different, you'll have to change it to RGB and 8 bits per channel. Okay, and the image must be of an appropriate size, around 2500 pixels. Bigger it can be. This one is 2500 in width. It can be 3000, 4000, it doesn't matter very much. Okay, another part of the action, before we run it, we will have to go to the smudge tool. It should be available here. If it's not, if it's the blur tool, click and hold and select the smudge tool. Okay. And you will have to make sure that the mode is normal. The strength, this is important, is around 80%. This value is important for the action, because if you put a lower value, let's say 60%, the painting which is resulted will have very fine details, almost as a photograph. And if you put a larger value, let's say 95, the strokes of the brushes will be very big, so the resulting painting will be quite rough. It will lack the detail. Okay, I'm gonna put 80% and make sure the finger painting is checked. These values I cannot set in the action, and this is why you will have to put them manually to make sure they are on. If these are on, you can run the action as many times as you want, on as many images as you want. Okay, so with the real painting action selected, I'm gonna click on play with this document, this image, JPG image opened. It has a locked background. The action uses this layer, the layer called background. Okay, and I'm going to click on play. And the action is running. There are multiple layers being generated and multiple things being done on the image without you noticing. Not everything is shown by Photoshop when running an action. Okay, it is still working. Okay, and this is our result. So this is how the image looks. Notice all the strokes. In this case, the details are not very fine. The faces are not very visible. This is because the subjects are quite small in the image, and the image is not very large. But don't worry, there is a built-in solution for adjusting, making visible parts of the images which lack detail. So you can put more detail into parts such as the faces of these two. Okay, so there are multiple layers created. There is a folder called Real Painting, and there are multiple folders inside with different layers. Okay, the action has selected on its last step this folder called Brush Mask to reveal more details, and it has a white mask. That means everything which is contained, every layer which is contained in this folder can be hidden if we brush something with an opposite color, a black color, into this mask. So you can see there is the main paint area in this folder, and if I brush with black here somewhere in the canvas, it will reveal the layer in the bottom position which is not contained in this folder, and this layer has more details. So I'm gonna click on the brush tool, and the action has selected by default a brush, a soft round brush around 80 pixels. You can make it bigger or larger. It has a black color selected for us, and if I paint here, I'm going to reveal more details. These are details found in this layer, the background with more details, which has a dry brush. This is a smart filter applied, which means you can double click on it and edit this smart filter with the values you want, and this will give you control over the area which has more details and you want to be visible in some places of the painting. Let's say like this. So with a simple brush on this layer we have revealed more details. If I disable the mask, you will see the original painting effect. If I enable it again, you will see how it looks right now. Okay. There are multiple folders, as I said. Let's go into the other paint areas. The other paint areas contain 3 layers which are different. Only one is visible. These layers you can toggle on or off and are responsible for the way some areas of the image look. These areas are the ones which are not stroked by the brushes, because not every area of the painting of the original image actually is stroked by a brush. Only the contrast areas are stroked. So you can use these layers to set how the other layers, the other parts of the image you want to look. The differences usually are quite fine, but these are also smart layers: dry brush, rough pastels, watercolor, which you can customize. Notice the difference here. Okay, I'm gonna close this folder. Another folder is the color control. The color controls have a solid color option, which you can change and put a color for some parts of the image. These are, as the name of the layer says, key areas of the image. They are areas of contrast on which we get to focus our attention. Okay, you may want a soft, warm yellow color, or maybe something darker. So as you see, this changes the color in some areas, but not all the areas. Notice that the green field doesn't change very much. Okay, let's say we like it like this. Okay, another control layer is the hue saturation. By double clicking on it, you can adjust the overall hue saturation of the image. A photo filter, which is a general color filter, you can put the color here to warm or give a different tone to the image. Also, we have a folder called paint cracks, which contains 3 types of cracks in the painting. One is the famous craquelure. It is a paint cracking which is specific to old paintings from the Renaissance to somewhere in the 1800s. The Mona Lisa is a painting known for this effect. Or you may like the crack 1 or crack 2. You may find these types of cracks more useful in landscapes, as you can see in my preview images of the item, or in images where the subject is very big and doesn't look modern. The image, you can give the image an old retro and classic look. Okay, Also there are the paint textures. There are three types of textures. One, another one which is lighter and has some relief. This can also give the image an old look, the look of an oil painting which has dried up quite some time ago. And another effect is similar. There is a texture, an overall texture, but it doesn't have the relief. Okay, so basically these are the layers. You can change them in multiple ways. You can edit all the smart filters here. For example, the main paint area has a smart sharpen filter where you can adjust, I suggest, the radius to produce a painting with a different contrast, maybe a lower contrast or a higher contrast. Okay, so basically this is it. I'm gonna show you the action on another image. This is one of my favorite results. I'm gonna show you the original image too. Okay, this is the original image and this is the result. It has a craquelure pattern applied, and notice the details, the way everything is drawn, the strokes of the painting, how they go on the subject, the colors. So this is the kind of results you can produce with the action. It is very simple to use. You don't have to brush areas of the original image to define your subject. You can run it on as many images as you want, and the action will produce high quality results. Remember, you can control the overall detail of the painting from the smudge tool and setting a strength, a lower strength like 60 for images almost photographic, and a higher paint around 90% or even higher for rough paintings. I believe this image is created with a setting of 80, which is the default setting I recommend, and the image is larger, is almost 4000 pixels in width. So basically this is it. Thank you very much for watching my tutorial.